Hi, it's Leo back again with another video. Today I'm going to have a chat about what happens after medical school. So I'm in a position right now where I've finished a 5-year medical degree and I'm on a sort of a break at the moment for a few weeks before I start working as a junior doctor in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to have a chat through my experiences of my final year of medical school, kind of the process of applying to work as a doctor, what happens, just because it's quite interesting. And then I'm going to go through the jobs that I got as a junior doctor and which hospital I'm at, just as sort of an update video. So hopefully you enjoy. But if you like this sort of content, be sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. 5th year, although I found it to be one of the more relaxing years of the course, there was a lot of this kind of admin stuff that had to be done. I'm just going to kind of briefly go over that. So there were a few more exams I had to do that I hadn't had to do previously. These include, there was a situational judgment test and a prescribing exam that I had to pass, along with the finals that I'd done and managed to pass. So yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the situational judgment test forms part of this kind of ranking system that the UK has that ranks every student, and it helps allocate you a job. Basically, the first 2 years working as a doctor, you're what you call like an F1, F2 doctor. It's a 2-year program where it sort of kind of like bridges the gap between med school and working as a specialist doctor. You work as a doctor, but you only spend 4-month rotations in different departments. So you're kind of all over the place throughout the year. So 3 4-month rotations in year 1 and then another 3 in year 2. So essentially that's what I was applying for in my 5th year. There was a section of the year that was kind of allocated to kind of creating this application and applying to the jobs we wanted. And that was quite a big process actually, because there are thousands of jobs in the country. So the way it sort of worked was there's a website called Oriel that the university kind of helps you make an account with, and then the university kind of uploads your kind of ranking when you do your exams, and then when you're on the website you kind of have to put your preference in for which hospital you want to work at. And obviously if you've got a higher ranking, you're more likely to get your first choice of hospital. So there's quite a lot of hospitals in the country, so you've got to kind of think about which hospital you want to work at. So I grew up in Cornwall and I decided I wanted to come back to the southwest. So yeah, that's where I applied. And it tends to be that the bigger cities are more competitive, like London's apparently quite competitive, and Manchester. I wasn't too interested in going to a big city, so I wanted to go to the southwest. And there were 2 main hospitals that I was sort of interested in the southwest. One was called Treliske Hospital, which is in Truro, which is in the middle of Cornwall. I think it's like the main hospital for the whole of Cornwall. And the one that I actually ended up applying to was Derriford Hospital, which is in Plymouth, which isn't actually in Cornwall, but it's kind of bordering Devon. Yeah, so I was lucky enough to get my first choice, which I'm happy with. So I'm going to be going Derriford in a few weeks. And after you'd applied for the hospital, you had to rank all the jobs within the hospital that you wanted to work at. And so yeah, so there was a massive, I think it was massive, but there was about 50 or 60 jobs in the hospital, and they wanted us to rank it all in order. So yeah, I was happy. I think I got my like 4th or 5th choice. I'll run through what my job is in a second, but yeah, so that's essentially how the application form works. They get you to do that throughout the year. You get allocated a job, hopefully, in somewhere that you would like to work. Over the 2 years, 6 different jobs, and I think the jobs that I got given were quite interesting actually. They're not your standard jobs. Well, one of them isn't anyway. So I'm starting off in respiratory medicine, which I'm happy with because I'm actually living at home at the moment, and it's about an hour commute to the hospital. So I'm saving a lot of money with rent, but it's going to be a lot of driving and obviously petrol. The medical jobs seem to start a little bit later than the surgical jobs. So my first block is on respiratory, which is a medical job. And I've been given my timetable. I'm starting at 9 o'clock. And I know most surgical jobs tend to start a little bit earlier. Some even start about 7 o'clock. So I've got quite lucky, as in I start at 9 o'clock, which gives me enough time to kind of, basically this means that I don't have to wake up super early to kind of get into hospital and account for travel, which I'm quite happy with. Because if I had to start at 7, I don't even know what I'd do. I'd have to be up at like 4 in the morning. It'd be ridiculous. At least starting at 9, I can get up about 7 o'clock. It'll be fine, hopefully. Anyway, after my job in respiratory medicine, I'll be going on to obstetrics and gynecology, which is a job that I thought I wanted as well, because I feel like it's a part of medicine that's very different to general medicine. it's one of those blocks in med school where there's a lot to learn, and because it's something that's kind of only, all the conditions that are dealt with in obs and gynae are only dealt with in obs and gynae. So yeah, I just thought that would be quite interesting. And after I've done that obs and gynae, which is technically a surgical specialty, so I'm not sure when I'll be starting, probably be a bit earlier than 9 o'clock. After my obstetrics and gynecology block, I'll be then moving on to colorectal surgery, which possibly is the block that I'm least looking forward to. I'm not particularly interested in surgery in general, to be honest, but you do have to do like a general surgery block anyway, so I wasn't really too fussed, as long as the consultants I'm with aren't too mean, it should be alright. Yeah, so after this colorectal, that's actually the end of F1, so I'll be then an F2 doctor. And this is what I'm a little bit worried about. I start in trauma and orthopedics as an F2, so as an F2 from what I've heard, you get more responsibility, and you also have F1s that kind of asking you questions, and to me, trauma and orthopedics seems like the deep end. Like, I don't really know what to expect, to be honest. Who knows? And I do think it'll be quite interesting, like trauma and orthopedics. Yeah, so that's my first F2 job, and then I'm moving on. This is where it gets a bit interesting. So in F1, F2, on your foundation training, it's a requirement to have a community placement, and the majority of people do their community placement either in general practice or community psychiatry. I got quite a different, unique, interesting block from my community, and I think that they're piloting it this year, so I'll be the first kind of foundation doctors to go through and give it a go. But it's community, well, I assume it's like diving medicine, but it's not really diving medicine. Basically, as part of the hospital, I think there's like just outside the hospital, run by like a private company, and they have a hyperbaric chamber. They have a hyperbaric chamber that they run. Essentially, I have a placement in that facilities where they've got a hyperbaric chamber. So I'm assuming I'll see like diving patients that have maybe got decompression sickness being treated in this chamber. I honestly have not got a whole lot of knowledge of what to expect, to be honest. So I'm hoping that's going to be quite interesting, because I think there were only three of these jobs available in the whole country, and I managed to get one. So, and then I finish up my F2 after that with my final F2 block on oncology, which is cancer medicine. That's what I'm doing for foundation program, and I start it in a couple of weeks, which is a bit scary. But I'm on a little bit of a break at the moment. I think in total I've had about 8 weeks off. I'm about 3 or 4 weeks into my 8 weeks off. I'm just sort of in relax mode, like my brain's switched off, and I know it's going to be a lot of effort just trying to switch myself back on. And I'm going to want to spend like a week or two kind of just recapping stuff that I know I'll need. But at the moment I'm just kind of relaxing, doing nothing, filming YouTube videos. Is there anything else to talk about regarding kind of starting F1? Yeah, it was a bit. So I've obviously over these few weeks I've been sent kind of my contract, and there's a lot of e-learning that I need to do, kind of because it's a new trust, a new hospital that I'm going to be joining, and they've obviously got different policies to the one I've been at, so I kind of have to do all that. And there's been a bit of like paperwork, get my DBS sorted, and get a little bit of an insight of what to expect when you finish med school. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, last 5 years just been doing a degree, and now I'm back where I grew up, living with my parents again, and I've got a job as a doctor. Yeah, and another weird thing is you kind of expect it to be like, oh wow, I've kind of passed medicine, but it wasn't. It was a bit of a tapered ending, as in I passed my finals. I knew I passed my finals. I got an email and you're like, yes, I've passed my finals, but that's not the end. I also had like an audit project that I had to finish and submit and pass that as well, and the kind of the decision on whether or not I passed had come in a few weeks after and then I had a portfolio that I had to pass. There's just a bunch of things that needed passing, but they weren't all it wasn't like one big pass at the end. There was a bunch of things that needed passing, and they were you kind of got told that you'd passed them at different times, so it kind of was like, oh yeah. And I'm at a point where I've been told that I've passed everything, and I've got my graduation in about three weeks, where I guess that will be the kind of the you've passed sort of moment. And then after that I've got another 2 weeks. Yeah, and then there's an induction week. So my hospital's doing a 1 week paid induction, which is quite good. Well, I've just got to literally in that week just try and learn as much about the hospital as possible. I've got no idea where anything is in the hospital. I've never visited that hospital. Because as I said, if I were to get ill where I live now, I would go to a different hospital. So this isn't my local hospital. Yeah, so I've got a week of paid induction that starts at the end of July, and I basically just have to try and learn as much as possible about the hospital, how everything works. I feel like there's paper prescribing, which is something I'm not that used to, because everything that I've been exposed to in the hospital I've trained at is all computer based, so just be new. But yeah, anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. We're nearly at 300 subscribers, and if you've got any questions, also leave that as a comment, and I'll see everyone in my next video.